Nestled deep within the dense forests of northern Vermont, the small town of Millfield had long been forgotten by modern maps. Its crumbling buildings and overgrown streets told a story of abandonment, but those who dared to venture near spoke of something far more sinister. Locals from neighboring towns whispered warnings. Millfield was not just empty. It was wrong. Few who entered ever returned, and those who did were never the same. Some babbled about shadows that moved on their own, their voices trembling with the kind of fear that clings to a person like a second skin. Others swore they heard voices calling their names from empty houses. The sound so real it sent ice water trickling down their spines. But the most chilling accounts came from those who claimed Millfield was not abandoned at all, that something still lived there. Something that watched from the broken windows with eyes like polished obsidian. Something that beckoned from the darkened doorways with fingers too long and too thin to be human. This is the story of those who uncovered Millfield's horrors and paid the price. Chapter 1. The first disappearance in October 1987, a group of college students from Burlington decided to explore Millfield as part of a dare. Among them was Jason Carter, an amateur photographer eager to document the forgotten town. His excitement was palpable, a nervous energy buzzing under his skin as he adjusted the strap of his camera. The group arrived at dusk, the fading light casting long, twisted shadows across the decaying structures. Almost immediately, they felt it, an unnatural stillness, as if the air itself was holding its breath. The usual sounds of the forest, chirping crickets, rustling leaves were absent, replaced by a silence so heavy it pressed against their eardrums. "This place is wrong," whispered Lisa, Jason's girlfriend, her fingers digging into his arm hard enough to leave crescent-shaped marks. Her breath came in shallow, uneven bursts, her pulse fluttering like a trapped bird beneath her skin. Jason forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow even to his own ears. "It's just an old town," he said, though the words tasted like a lie. Still, he couldn't back down, not with his friends watching. Ignoring the cold sweat prickling at the back of his neck, Jason ventured into the old church at the town's center. The moment he stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind him with a force that rattled his bones. His friends rushed to open it, their shouts muffled through the thick wood, but it wouldn't budge, as if something was pressing against it from the other side, something strong. Then they heard it, Jason's scream, a raw, guttural sound that was cut short so abruptly it left their ears ringing. When the door finally creaked open, Jason was gone. The only trace left behind was his camera, its lens shattered like it had been crushed in a fist. The developed photos later revealed a single blurred image, a pale, elongated face peering from the church's rafters, its mouth stretched into a grin too wide to be human, its eyes black pits that seemed to stare straight into the viewer's soul. Lisa never spoke again after that night. Chapter 2. The journal of Eleanor Voss in 1994, urban explorer Marcus Reed stumbled upon a diary in Millfield's abandoned schoolhouse. The moment his fingers brushed the cracked leather cover, a jolt of unease shot through him, as if the book itself was alive beneath his touch. The journal belonged to Eleanor Voss, a schoolteacher who had lived in Millfield before its downfall. Her handwriting started neat and measured, but as the entries progressed, the letters grew jagged, the ink smeared in places where her hands had clearly trembled. The journal spoke of strange occurrences. Children whispering to unseen friends, their laughter turning to screams in the dead of night. Livestock found mutilated, their bodies arranged in patterns that made Eleanor's stomach churn, and a growing, suffocating fear of the woods that pressed in around the town like a living thing. The final entry was the most disturbing. "They're coming from the trees now. I see them at night. Tall, thin things with too many joints, moving in ways that make my eyes ache. The Reverend says we mustn't look at them, but last night little Thomas did. This morning his eyes were gone. Only hollow sockets remained. God help us all." Marcus's throat went dry as he read the words. A part of him screamed to leave the journal where he found it, but another, more stubborn part, the part that had driven him to explore places like this, whispered that this was proof. Proof of something beyond the ordinary horrors of the world, that he took the journal. That night, as he camped on the town's outskirts, Marcus woke to the sound of scratching at his tent. At first, he thought it was an animal. But then the scratching turned into something more deliberate, long, slow drags of fingernails against the nylon. His breath hitched, his heart hammering so hard he was sure whatever was outside could hear it. When he finally mustered the courage to unzip the tent, he saw them. Figures standing just beyond the firelight, their limbs twitching unnaturally, their heads tilting at angles that made his stomach lurch as he fled, leaving everything behind. The journal was later found by another explorer, its final page filled with fresh handwriting. "You shouldn't have taken me. Now they know where you live." Marcus was found dead in his apartment 3 days later, his face frozen in a silent scream. Chapter 3. The broadcast that never aired in 2008. A paranormal investigation team from Dark Truths TV entered Millfield, determined to capture evidence of the supernatural. Derek, the team's leader, had spent years chasing ghosts, but as they crossed the town's border, a cold dread settled in his chest, heavy and unshakable. First, things were quiet, just the expected creaks of an old town. Then, during a live feed, their audio picked up a child's voice whispering, "Don't let them see you." Derek's blood turned to ice. He forced a laugh for the camera, but his hands were shaking. "Just the wind," he lied, his voice strained. Then the camera panned to the schoolhouse window, a face pressed against the glass, its eyes black voids, its mouth stretching into that same too-wide grin. The feed cut to static. Rescuers found the crew's equipment scattered across the town square, still recording. The last clip showed Derek, his back to the camera, his shoulders hunched like a man carrying an unbearable weight. "I don't want to join you," he pleaded, his voice breaking. Then something grabbed him from off-screen, its fingers skeletal and too long, dragging him into the dark. The camera toppled over, capturing one final glimpse of a shadowy figure retreating into the night. Chapter 4. The survivor's account in 2016. Hiker Rebecca Lowell was reported missing after wandering near Millfield. 3 days later, she stumbled onto a highway, her clothes torn, her skin streaked with dirt and something darker. When questioned, she spoke in fragments, her voice a broken whisper. "They hide in the walls, in the trees. They mimic voices. They called my name in my brother's voice, but my brother's been dead for years." She claimed the town changed at night. Buildings reassembled themselves, streets twisted into labyrinths, and the things that lived there grew bolder, their whispers turning to laughter. "They don't just want to kill you," she whispered, her eyes darting to the corners of the room as if expecting something to be there. "They want you to stay, forever." Rebecca was committed to a psychiatric ward. Weeks later, her nurse reported hearing whispers coming from Rebecca's room. When she entered, Rebecca was gone. The only clue, a single sentence etched into the wall in jagged, frantic letters. "Millfield welcomes its new resident." Epilogue. The warning: Millfield still stands, rotting yet never fully dying. Some say the town is a gateway. Others believe it's a living entity, feeding on fear. But one thing is certain: those who seek out Millfield's secrets rarely return. And those who do are never whole again, so heed this warning. If you ever find yourself near those crumbling ruins, run, because Millfield is always watching, and it's always hungry.